Welcome to Woman Wednesday's episode of Tea Time with Afternoon Social. I'm Teresa Lauterbach, and we have Katie Corbett back with us again today. Hi, Katie.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
She talked to us Monday about how she achieved her business and lost weight without dieting. And part of what she was talking about on Monday was self-care was a big part of losing this weight without dieting, and taking care of yourself is one of the number one things. So today she's going to go into some more advice on what are some of the different things we can do for self-care and why that's so important. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Katie, and talk to us more about self-care and how that helps us with our journey in our lives.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for having me back again. All right. So what I learned during my year of grace was taking time for self-care is probably one of the best things that you can do for your own health and wellness. And I know sometimes we feel like maybe we're being selfish if we invest so much time in ourselves, or we think like, well, I don't really deserve it, or my life is really busy right now. When things calm down, I'll take some time for myself. But I wanted to encourage your listeners, like, it doesn't have to be epic, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money in order to take time for self-care. Like, there's so many different things you can do. Like, you could start with, good scented soap at the kitchen sink and bath salts and stuff like that, which is great. But I don't want you to stop there. I want you to really take time for self-care and look at it as a way of like, how can I improve my life so that I don't feel like I have to always escape it? That is probably foundational in so many ways for so many things. So there's a lot of self-care that I talk about that it does have to do with, like, having a nice, nice smelling lotion and kind of pampering yourself in that way. I have a heated blanket, and I have it on right now. So like while I'm talking here, here's my heated blanket, right? Like I feel cozy and warm. Like that's my little way of, just making sure I'm a little bit pampered. Stuff like that is it.
Hurting yourself.
Yeah. It doesn't have to. I got this for my birthday last year. Like, it doesn't have to be a big deal, but it's a little way to like, okay, I'm thinking of you. Like, you matter, because your brain will notice that. It will notice. So one of the first things I teach my clients is that you need to keep your word to yourself. So take a look at your life and maybe pick one thing that you want to work towards, like one goal that's achievable, that you can measure, that you want to start working towards. And then I want you to start keeping your word to yourself. And the reason why this is so important is because a lot of times when you go against what you say you want to do, there's a few things that happen. One is you reduce your confidence. You reduce your self-efficacy is reduced as well, but also your self-concept is also reduced. So one of the things I teach my clients right off the bat when they come to work with me is to start keeping your word to yourself. So for when my clients come to me and they come for weight loss, the very first thing I say for them to do is, I don't care what you eat, but whatever you do, just plan it out the day before for the next day. Okay. So whatever you're going to eat tomorrow, just write that down. And now when tomorrow comes, regardless if you want it or not, or if you want something else for that day, you're going to keep your word to yourself. Because doing that and then going to bed that night and being proud of yourself for like, wow, you know what? I set something, and it's only 24 hours. So it's not like I have to do this for the rest of my life, right? Like, you only have to do it for 24 hours. But every time you do that, you get a little bit more confident, and you get a little bit more of this empowered feeling like, wow, if I could do that, what else could I do? And so this skill is, you're building this self-efficacy where you start to believe, like, if I, what else can I try? Like, if I did this, what else can I do? But you're doing it in these teeny tiny baby steps. Another thing is to respect yourself. And what I mean by that is, a lot of women, and myself included, I have done this before too, they'll wear like bras and underwear that don't fit them, or that cut them, or that are falling apart, or that are ripped or stretched out, or because, you know, we have babies and then our bodies change, and then, you know, like you would just, bras are expensive, and who wants to buy a new one every time your body is a different shape? So we'll just try to keep doing the same, wearing the same undergarments. But in the meantime, you know, the underwire is cutting into us, or the elastic in our underwear is tight, or whatever. Like, they get bras and underwear that fit. Something like that is a form of self-respect, right? And it's you telling yourself, like, hey, you matter in these little tiny things. Like you should have at least one bra that fits you correctly, and some underwear that doesn't hurt, or, you know, pinch your legs with the elastic. Little tiny things like that. We're going to talk about identifying your needs, but that is a form of self-care, and also getting enough sleep. Now, I wrote some information down because I wanted to be able to share it, but they said, okay, so if you do not get, like, they recommend between 7 to 8 hours of sleep, but they said if you do not get that and you get less than that, you have a 15% increase in the risk of obesity. And they said too, you're almost setting yourself up for failure, because the hunger hormones, like your hunger cravings, will go up with inadequate sleep, and the ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone inside your brain that kind of tells your brain, like, hey, it's time to eat, that actually increases when you have less sleep. And also the leptin, which is the hormone that signals your brain, like, okay, I'm satisfied, I've eaten enough, that is actually reduced. So right out of the gate, if you're trying to improve your health and wellness and you're not getting enough sleep, you're really setting yourself up for failure, because you're making the hill that much steeper, because you're messing with your hormones. And so that is like a great way to start. Like, just get some extra sleep. Another one, like I said, is like, get some soaps and lotions. And then one of the other things I tell them to do is to start to dream and imagine what is possible. A lot of times, because we're really kind of focused on everybody else, and we're not taking time for our own self-care, and we don't know what our needs and our wants are, we're really spending a lot of our day reacting to what's coming up for us throughout the day, rather than being proactive in our lives and planning our lives and then hitting goals and setting them. We're really kind of just always maybe reacting to the urgent and feeling like life is always crazy and I'm always stressed, right? What I want to tell people is, like, start dreaming about what is possible. Even if it's a daydream, and even if you don't even think it's possible right now, like, take time and be like, if time and money was no issue, what would I really like to do? What would I really want to do? Right? Like, get excited about it. And it doesn't mean you have to go do it, but just use it as a tool to kind of get to know you a little bit better. And then maybe there's an essence of that you like maybe you know, your dream was like, I wanted to be a world-renowned ballerina, right? Well, maybe, you know, like, that's not possible now, but maybe you could take a stretch class, or a dance class, or something that there's an essence of that there, that can fill you up and be a form of self-care. Another one would be taking time for prayer and gratitude. Counting your blessings and being thankful, like, oh, you know, every little thing, if you notice it, like I always say, there's so much to be thankful for that we don't really even notice. But once we start to count our blessings and think, that life doesn't seem so burdensome. So even the fact that we have running water, like, we don't have to walk 5 miles to go get a bucket of water to go make our tea, you know, like we could just heat it up in our own house, or sometimes it just comes out hot, and we could shower, and it doesn't have to be a huge burden to do that. Like, that is, even those little things. So even if life is really feeling very heavy or very big right now, like, try to find the littlest, tiniest things that you could be thankful for. Even if life is really terrible, I don't want to say don't focus on it, because I think our brain will naturally always focus on the negative, because your brain wants to keep you safe and alive, so it will focus on the negative because it sees it as a threat. But if you could train your brain to really look at positives and be able to identify and get in the habit of being thankful, that will go a long way to help your mood, to help with self-care so much. And then the last thing I always say as far as self-care goes is start behaving as if. So if you can imagine, right, you dream about what's possible, and maybe you think about, okay, what if I hit, I always use our goal weight as an example because that's usually what my clients are looking at. So like, what if you're at your goal weight? Right? Like, what do you look like? What are you doing? How are you spending your time? Who are you spending it with? Where are you going? What books are you reading? What kind of clothes are you wearing? What hobbies do you have? Like all these things. Where do you work? Like all these things that you can kind of think about, and then start behaving as if you are already her, right? So if goal weight Katie no longer eats ice cream at night, and she does not eat chocolate chips, at 4:00 because she's at her goal weight and she's found other strategies, then right now I'm not going to eat chocolate chips at 4:00 and I'm not going to have ice cream at night, right? Like I'm going to start behaving as if I'm already that person that I want to become. And you just can start small, but you'll never arrive at who you want to be until you start acting as if you are already that, right? Because your actions create the results you have. And so you want to start acting as if you have already done that. But really self-care is kind of the foundation, because I feel like if you don't take time for self-care and you don't really take time for identifying your needs and your wants and figuring out a strategy or a plan to see even how to get your needs and wants met, which is really the basis of self-care, then you're only just reacting to the urgent in life and you're not making forward progress. And that is so frustrating. And then no wonder we want to overeat or overdrink or, retail therapy, or just feel like, oh, I deserve this because life is so hard anyway, right? Like, it's coming from a place of power then, like, I can affect my life and I can keep my word to myself. I can make goals and set plans, and I can move forward and start creating a life I love.
Exactly. And you and I are on the same page. That's what, when, for quite a while now, I've been thinking about that. I've created a list when I can get up and be mobile again. Here's the things I'm going to go out and go do. I'm going to go practice my photography some more, or I'm going to go on this trip. Or so all that, when you've got that list in front of you, it's like, oh, I can go do all these things. And is there something I can do with that now, even if it's not fully? So that's part of why I've started Afternoon Social. I've got the internet. I'm like you. I love talking with other people and having my tea time parties and things. I can still do those. I don't have to leave the house. I don't have to say, okay, when or if I ever get to that other point, then I can be able to do these things. Well, start now with whatever I've got. And so it'll be bigger and better when I get down to that other weight, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you'll be better at it, right? Like you'll have the practice of doing it too. I remember in graduate school, one of the instructors was saying, if you can crawl, if you can walk, if you can run, but like, so wherever you are, whatever fits your time and your budget and your desire and your ability, start there. Right? Like when I first started this, and I was, the very first exercise I did was a 20-second elbow plank. That's it. It was hard. And that's how I started. It was not, and because I had 7 babies, my core strength was not there at all. So 20 seconds was really difficult. And, but that's where I started, and so you start where you can, and then you always just try to improve where you are. I think it's called, I think there's a Japanese word for it. I think it's either called Kaiser or Kaizen. I think it's how they say it. And it's like always doing better. Like look at the situation. It's like, how can I improve? What can I do better? It's always moving forward no matter what. Like how can I be a better version of myself every day, no matter where you are? It doesn't matter. Like you just are where you are. Don't beat yourself up. Just, okay, let's move forward. Right.
like I said, doing that 20 seconds. Well, then tomorrow maybe do 21 seconds.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
one more and just one more.
Yeah. I think it was like 3 weeks. And I think eventually you worked up to like 2 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it really was. So it was hard. But it was like every day. Yeah. If you did 20 seconds the first day, I think it was like maybe 23 or 25 seconds. And then it was like, maybe, every day it got like 5 seconds longer. So.
Right. Yeah, and just a little bit each time, and then when you look back, you're like, "Wow, I didn't know had come so far." And you're not focusing on all the big, trying to get it all done at once. So, well, I'm really sitting here enjoying listening to you today, and I'm glad we're talking about that. But I think we're about out of time for our Woman to Woman Wednesday. But she'll be back with us tomorrow, and she's going to talk to us about a little bit of workshop of identifying those personal needs on Try It Thursdays tomorrow. So thank you, Katie, for joining us today on Woman to Woman Wednesday, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.